reconvene now into our regular session.
That's right, we had a public hearing. So that's right.
Yeah, I got you. Take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Rutherford?
Present.
Commissioner Rankin?
Present.
Commissioner Roberts?
Present.
Commissioner Dusky?
Here.
Commissioner Zurcher?
Here.
Vice Chairperson Dreves?
Here.
And Chairperson Yater.
Here. Okay, with that, we're just going to go right into invocation. Commissioner Roberts is going to give the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
God, we come before you and we're asking for your wisdom, your knowledge. Father God, we ask that we be courteous and kind and be obedient to what we're here to do. And I pray that everybody will have a great understanding through this meeting. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of minutes. Any changes? Okay. Hearing that.
So moved.
Oh.
For approval.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. We're off our game up here. Okay, any announcements?
We have to.
No announcements. Okay, our public hearing item. First one is ZMC 15-006. Upon the application of the Town of Prescott Valley, a request for a zoning map change to rezone various vacant properties on Spouse Drive, Luce Drive between Robert Road and Parent Road. From
Long agenda.
You have last.
Just to sign.
You got last week's
sorry.
agenda.
I'm reading the agenda I already I approved. I'm sorry.
I move we adjourn.
Sorry, everybody.
Ice cream time.
I lost my place.
You brought up naps, Richard.
What's that?
You brought up naps.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We back on track.
Huh?
Are you ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. This item relates to the town's sign code, and this is a public hearing taking public comment relative to forwarding a recommendation to the town council. Many of you may have read that the United States Supreme Court got involved in a local issue relating to sign code administration, and that is that we have the ability in the United States of America to exercise free speech. So the Supreme Court justices heard Reed versus Gilbert on a sign case, and the city of Gilbert took a very strong position as it related to temporary signage for advertising church services. Interestingly, all the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court found that Gilbert had the right to do that, and then we got to the United States Supreme Court, and they took a little different view. That view is that because we have the constitutionally protected right to free speech, that you can say anything you want on the sign, and it's permissible. You can only regulate placement of sign based on size and location and duration of that sign. You can't regulate it as it relates to the sign copy itself. So all of the various aspects in our sign code relative to, lead-in signs for real estate purposes, where we gave a special compensation for them to use, for garage sale signs that advertise garage sales that we gave a special compensation to use, all have to go out of the window because we can't regulate a sign by content. Interestingly, one that I thought was borderline absurd, but we looked at the city of Flagstaff and others. Believe it or not, we can't regulate a menu board to a restaurant through a drive-through because it has words on it. We can't regulate it based on their words. Kind of troubling in my business. So we went back through and we eliminated any reference to sign copy, meaning content in the sign code, so as to be very much in line with the Supreme Court finding. We also then went back through and we were very specific about regulating signs based on placement, meaning their location, and their size, but again, not copy. As a result of that, many of the special exemptions that were afforded to people to use signs for temporary purposes because they advertised a temporary event, they all went away. So, to my delight, perhaps, I've got a very clear path, and I can say you can put up these signs, but you can't put up any signs in the public right-of-way without exception. You probably recall we came to this commission and ultimately to the town council because the state legislature approved legislation that said political figures running for office could place signs in the public right-of-way during a certain duration in advance of a vote. Well, there was an exception. We could identify entertainment areas, which we went through that process. Because of the United States Supreme Court's test, we're basically saying that is null and void. That statute violates the interpretation by the Supreme Court. So on that basis, we are prohibiting any and all signs in the public right-of-way. The reason why I was so anxious to bring this to you tonight and seek your hopefully approval so I can get it to council is we are fast approaching yet another political season. And I want clarity in administering that, so when candidates come in and they say we'd like to place signs, where can I put signs? I can say any place but the public right-of-way. You can't put any signs in the public right-of-way. So I found it troubling that the Supreme Court would get involved with what I thought were semi-local issues, but it is their prerogatives. They are the Supremes. But with that in mind, I'd respond to any specific questions you have. A lot of the information and the amendments that you have relate to other jurisdictions and their direction, most notably recently Flagstaff. And we are following in line with them because we think if somebody's going to get sued, they're going to sue them first. So that's been kind of our approach. With that, I'll respond to your questions.
I will entertain any questions from the commission.
John, I have one.
Okay.
So is anything in the changes that you've given us, does it have any sort of a negative effect on signage that's already here in the town? I mean, is there anything, is it like a grandfathered scenario, or is there anything that the town is going to have to make either businesses or private change what they have?
No, we won't be changing any existing signs except any of the temporary signs that people have enjoyed, the use of open house signs and things like that. Those all go away. They cannot be placed because we can't regulate the content of that sign. I can't say you can put an open house sign on a corner because it's for a temporary event. Can't do that by law. I can say you can put a sign in this zoning classification of this size on that corner, but I can't regulate its content. So that'll mean there's no political signs. That'll mean that there's no special exemption for lead-in signs, which we had done. We kind of turn a blind eye to garage sale signs. We're going to take it very seriously, and we're just going to pick them up.
How will the public be notified of this?
Well, that's probably the biggest challenge, Rick. First and foremost, Commissioner Dusky, first and foremost, we have to educate people, and part of the urgency here is we're going to have a bunch of candidates come in and we produce a informational packet about where you can put signs, and I wanted to have this in place so that there's no question. I hand them a packet and say, this is where you can put signs. Whatever they say is your business, but you can put them on private property at this locations, and these are the sizes that you can place. That's going to be our biggest effort, is the education of the general public. Frankly, I wish the feds would have stayed out of the local business, but it got all the way up to them with a lawsuit. And again, I was not the zoning administrator who took such a harsh view of a church sign. Seems to me a lot of energy ultimately to regulate one sign that had huge ramifications.
Commissioner Zercher?
Well,
I'm sorry, Gary, you were next up.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Richard, so just a matter of information for candidates. Are you going to know? I mean, those who register to run for office, are you going to notify them? Because it's kind of loose. The second question I have is, how about private developments? Like, I live in Granville West, so I mean, there's now the right-of-ways. How does that work here in Prescott Valley? Because I know that some streets are taken care of by the township, some aren't.
Two responses. First, we have informational packets when somebody comes in to register as a candidate. Mm-hmm. If it's a local election, or let's say Jack Smith is running for supervisor, we go out of a way to contact Jack Smith and say, where are you going to put your signs? And it used to be he would illustrate where they were, so we would know not to pick them up because they were consistent with code. Approving it in advance is a lot easier than spending the time picking up signs and storing them. Second answer to your question is, if it's private property, we only regulate size and placement of the sign. We don't regulate the content. So arguably somebody could put a political sign on private property. If it was adjacent to a private road, that's private property. But if it's in a public right-of-way, then it's prohibited, and we'll remove the sign. There was, again, a special exclusion, if you guys recall, that the state legislature brought forward that said you couldn't regulate them except in these instances. We applied those regulations, but everywhere else in the town of Prescott Valley, they could put them anywhere in the town right-of-way, and they did.
Matt?
So, Richard, we have a lot of churches in town that don't meet in permanent buildings. So sandwich boards that point the way on Sundays,
they're gone.
In the public right-of-way.
They're gone.
They're gone?
But they don't work on weekends.
What?
They don't work on weekends.
Okay. I have.
Any other comments? Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
The second?
Wait a minute.
No, we're not adjourned. What do we?
No, motion on this.
Make a motion to approve.
You were off our game. I know I am.
You started it, okay?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
DMZ.
It's the sign code amendment.
The sign ordinance, or amendments. Make that motion, sorry.
Oh. Wait, I'm sorry. Is there any comments from the public on this? I told you we were off our game. No comments from the public? Now I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the sign code amendments. Is that Article 1323? Article 1323.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Zercher?
No.
Commissioner Dusky?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Rankin?
Yes.
Commissioner Rutherford?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Dreves?
No.
And Chairperson Yater?
Yes. Yes. With that, we'll send that. The next item is call to the public again.
Well, we have nothing for review for action items. That's the next thing on the agenda.
No action items.
Call to public. Consideration and discussion of comments from the public. Those wishing to address the Planning and Zoning Commission need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date.
Hearing that, thank you very much for attending, and we'll adjourn April 11th, 2016 Commission meeting.